Okay. So this is the Hacksgiving kind of like plug-in intro um, into the plugin development, along with like uh, some plugin development training type stuff. So um, I I'm gonna first start off by saying, who am I? I'm Stephen Christou.
Wait,
I
is your screen presenting?
It should be. This is you're presenting to everyone.
I don't see it. But Andrew, do you see it?
Maybe there. Can you see now?
Nope, I see nothing. Now I do.
There
Now
it
you
is.
guys see it? Okay. Sorry about that. So I guess we can restart. So this is the plugin intro training for Hacksgiving. So everyone probably is wondering, who am I? I'm Stephen Christou. I am currently a cloud-based support engineer working on Jenkins, and I am also a lead developer of Covertura, which is a code coverage tool for Java. I've been doing Jenkins coding for a couple years now. So, and I've done this training in the past, so, and a lot of people have liked it. So, so kind of the first thing, usually I ask myself when I'm doing things like, first-time plugin development. So usually I ask, does something like this already exist? So usually what happens is I will get an idea, something like, I would get like a good idea, and then almost immediately, I would check the wiki page to see if something like this already exists. And if it does, great, problem solved. However, if something doesn't exist already, the next thing I usually ask myself is, can I make some improvements to something that is very close to what I want? And if I can, then why not implement a new improvement or add a new feature or fix a bug? That way, everyone can benefit. The entire community can benefit instead of just me. So if, for an example, if you meet the criteria, if you say, okay, I want to help improve a pre-existing plugin, or if I want to continue some work, this is some of the basics that you would have to kind of learn about in order to get a little bit started with some of the plugin development. So the first part is the extension, and this is one of the really I like to call the key components of Jenkins that makes it like really powerful. It's basically so this is in Java coding. It's an annotation, and it goes around certain classes. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit later, what that means. So basically what it does is it tells Jenkins to, I call it register this class. So what it will do is it will take, it would take this class and add it to the pre-existing list, if you will, of certain extension points. So the extension point is really just, I like to think of it as like a giant list of available classes for that specific type. And the @extension allows you to take a class and add it to that list to make it available. Jenkins core actually already has a very large number of these predefined extension points. They exist, they exist for a long time, and it's very nice to kind of like add your own implementation, and it's fairly easy also, as we will see. So the thing is that you don't need to implement your you don't need to implement any extension points. Basically, you for the most part, as like a developer, are going to be implementing the pre-existing ones. So anything, so like me as myself, I'm not, implementing a new version of an extension point. I'm just adding to the pre-existing elements. So like a builder as an example that already exists. So basically all that you're doing is just adding this annotation, and Jenkins automatically figures out, where it needs to go and adds it to that list. So like simply put, it's just taking the class that you have and just, it registers it or it adds it to that existing list. So the first one that we're actually going to look at is something called a root action. And everyone probably is wondering, what is an action? And an action is basically it's like a set. It adds a set of like URLs and links to the page in the UI. So basically, like whenever you go to the page, an action is basically something that like it adds a link or it adds it adds like a new page in the UI. A root action though is a special type of action. So this type is basically on the root Jenkins page, so that the main dashboard page, it adds it to that very top level. So, and I will explain this, and right now we're going to do kind of a demo of this root action. So let me open up my IDE here. So before the meeting, everyone should probably run the command maven HPI create to kind of create this template. Unfortunately, I can't expand it over here, but it kind of creates like a tree. So the HPI create will create like a very simple, like templated version of a Hello World program. And it asks you for like a few parameters, and based on that, it creates this Hello World plugin. But in this demo, we're not going to actually work with the Hello World at all. We're going to be doing our own. I also suggest checking out this Hello World builder, as it does it has a very large number of comments, and it kind of describes in more detail a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. So the first thing we're going to do, actually, I'm going to just, sorry, I'm going to clean up my directories as I was compiling some stuff earlier today. So if I run this Maven HPI run, what it will do is it's a special type of Maven plugin that will start up a Jenkins instance, and it will add this plugin in automatically. So it will download the plugin and make it available for me. Oops. So if I go to localhost :8080/Jenkins, you will see that it's coming up with a new instance. And it will automatically install the plugin that I specify, or the plugin that I'm running from within. So the root action is something that I would like to add kind of on this right hand here, like kind of like a new page. So the first thing is, there's three components for this piece right here. Like an example is this credentials part. There's three main components. There's this image, there's the text, and then there's a link. So these three are the big components to make this this link right here. And we're going to basically add our own down here. So if I open up, so if I add a new Java class, and I call it Hacksgiving root action. I click OK. It's going to create the class, and I also forgot to mention that you have to actually extend the specific class. So we need to implement the root action. And in doing so, we have to implement the necessary methods, which were the icon name. Sorry, I'm going to expand this a little bit. So the three components, like I had mentioned earlier, was the file name, the display name, and the URL that it's supposed to go to. So in this case, I'm going to use the gear.png. So it's going to display a gear icon. The name that it's going to be is Hacksgiving 2015, and the URL. In this example, I'm going to go to the main Hacksgiving page here. So basically what this will do is it will, on the root Jenkins page, it will add the icon, like a little gear. It'll say Hacksgiving 2015, and when I click on it, it will go here. And the part of the extension point is that if I add this @extension class there, what it will do is it will see that it's a root action and add it to the root action list. So as long as I implement or I extend a extension point, so as you can see here, it implements the extension point. As long as it will add it to the list, the other list of root actions. So if I come back and I rerun my program, it should add it to that front page right here. So there'll be a little gear, the Hacksgiving 2015, and a link. So as you can see here, there's the gear, Hacksgiving 2015, and at the bottom you can see the link, and it also does the redirect when I click on it. So, so this kind of just shows very simply how just adding this @extension, it figures out where to kind of put this class and where to kind of move it around. So the next part is this is great, but what would happen if, for example, I wanted to do a little bit more, and I wanted to create a new page similar to like the Manage Jenkins page, right? Where instead of me actually doing a link to another page, I want to create my own page. So this is actually possible. So in the package structure, there is this resources folder. So if you go to source main resources, followed by the same package structure and the name of the class. So if you go to root action, if you put in this index.jelly file, it will automatically add, so it will automatically render whatever is in this index.jelly file. And as you can see here, I say hello world, and this is the Hacksgiving page. Another thing you can do, so instead of specifying the URL name, what you would do is you would specify, so instead of a specific URL, you would specify something like Hacksgiving 2015. And what this will do is when I click on this link, oops, sorry, wrong way. So when I click on this link, it will go to /Hacksgiving 2015. So let's run that again. And when it goes to that page, the Hacksgiving 2015, it will render this hello world and Hacksgiving page automatically. give it a moment here. So as you can see here, there's Hacksgiving at the bottom. You can see the link is pointing to Hacksgiving 2015, and it's the Hello World Hacksgiving page. So this is very nice. However, as you can see here, it's very static, right? It doesn't look that good. You would want something like this to be a little bit more dynamic. So you actually can implement something that's a little more dynamic. So if I remove this Hello World builder or Hello World section, you can actually ask it to call a Java method directly. So if I do $ curly brace, I can actually invoke something like this get display name. So I would like to display this Hacksgiving 2015 on this index.jle. Or so I would like it to display it up here. So to do that, there is a variable called it, which is the instance, or the kind of like the instance of this. And then if I say display name, it will automatically call this get display name and return Hacksgiving 2015. So the other nice thing too is that if you modify only the jelly file, you do not have to recompile everything. You just have to refresh the page. So if I refresh the page here, you can see that it added the Hacksgiving 2015 in there, and I also did not have to recompile anything. So you can render your own pages from within Jenkins. So this is really nice. However, there's a small problem, I think, in that it doesn't have things like the header and the footer, or like the top section up here and the bottom section down here. Oops. And I would like it to actually have that when I click here. So within Jelly, you can actually tell it to inherit the layout from the previous. So you can inherit the layout, from Jenkins. So to do that, in Jelly, there's the L layout option. So if you do L:layout and wrap, this entire section here, I would like, this entire section here to use the layout from Jenkins, and I would like it to display this in the main panel. So what this will do is, on that main panel page, it will, so you'll have the header. So if I go back, you will have the header and footer, or header and I guess footer, and then in this main page right here, it will render the Hello World or Hacksgiving 2015, and this is a Hacksgiving page. So as you can see here, this is like the main panel section right here. So you still inherit the all the other options up above and below. So it still looks nice from, so when you navigate to the page. So that's a quick overview of not only the root action, but also the annotation, the extension annotation. So you can kind of see, there was nothing I needed to do other than just add this and implement the necessary method. So it's very easy to add it. You just create the class. You implement the methods that are needed, and you add the add extension, and you're pretty much done. We also saw that using Jelly, we were able to kind of take the page and render it a little bit better, to make it dynamic, the page, to be able to call things like Java code, things like that. So it could be really powerful. So I assume that everyone is probably asking, where do I find more of these extension points? And if you go, so Jenkins already has a lot of predefined extension points. So if you go to the wiki page and just search extension points, and it should also be in the notes page, the thing is that it will be available, so you can actually do searches. So you can actually search from within there, the other extension points that exist currently. So the next part I'm going to talk about is these things called descriptors. So the definition of a descriptor is like an object that holds metadata about like a describable object. So I think of it like kind of like a singleton, and how the way you kind of you create a new instance of what it's kind of describing. Kind of like a fresh install of a specific item or a specific class. I usually think of it as the class and object in object-oriented programming. So it's very, you have your class and then you have your object. It's kind of like that. So it's like that type of relationship. So right. So the descriptor holds like this information for what it's basically kind of describing. So I also like to think of it as like it contains like static information in Java, but not like literal static, but it contains information about this specific class. And Jenkins actually uses the descriptor to kind of consult how it should create a new instance of this specific type. And I'll kind of explain that in the next slide, how it kind of does that. So so this thing also holds other things like helper methods. So like a save and a load operation. It also holds things like the do star method. So these do star methods, what they do is basically when I think other people have seen, like when they open up a Jenkins installation and the field, it's kind of like a pre-validated field, so it like verifies that the field you entered is correct, like the name is correct, or the spelling is correct, or if you entered a invalid or valid number. There's these operations like a check method based on the object name itself. And then you can also do things like a fill operation. So like I can fill in a drop-down list dynamically. So, and I will explain. I'll show how to kind of do this in the demo to kind of like allow you to like create your own like validation fields. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is the Databank Constructor, and this basically it contains kind of like the information that's passed, from the Jelly and Groovy, and it passes that information from the browser into Java. Basically, deserializes the JSON into a Java object. So, you add it to the constructor, and it automatically knows to deserialize the JSON object, and it knows how to deserialize the JSON, and right, so it knows how to deserialize it into a JSON or a Java object. So I'm going to kind of demo the builder for now. So so if we come back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new class, and I'm going to call this Hacksgiving Sleep Builder. And this is basically going to, in this example, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sleep for, a few minutes or a few seconds. However long you specify within there, it's going to kind of sleep for. So the first thing is to kind of know. So I kind of cheated ahead of time, and I looked at the extension list, and I saw which methods I needed to implement. So if I extend builder, what this does is it adds it to the build section. So when I create a new job, I call it test job. So if I create a freestyle project, within here, this add build step, it will add another one down here at the bottom, or in between. So it will add one in this list here. So that's kind of what so that's kind of like explain like the extension. When I add the annotation, it adds it to like this existing list of builders. So, however, I'm also going to implement a simple build step. So this is not a very a complex step. It's very basic. So this is going to tell me what method I actually need to implement. So let me space this out a little bit so it's all on the same page. So so as you can see here, this simple build step told me to only override this perform method. So that's basically all I'm going to do is just override this perform method. So in order for us to actually sleep, we need some time. We need like a set time to kind of sleep, right? So private long time. And most likely we would need a constructor for this. So public Hacksgiving sleep builder, that takes a long time. And this dot time, equals time. And I would assume that this probably needs some getters and setters. So we add some getters and setters. So let me move it down a little bit. There we go. So, right. So we have some very simple things. The getters and the setters. They add, So, like I can create and I can add stuff. So, in this perform method, what you do is you have the operation that you would like to perform. In this example, I'm just going to do the thread.sleep for the amount of time. However, this would not be good, right? If I see this as of right now, it's just going to sleep and it's never going to tell me anything. It's not going to tell me what is going on. And if I run it right now, it's not going to tell me, hey, I'm sleeping right now. So we would like to kind of display a message that says, hey, I'm sleeping. This is the amount of time I'm sleeping for. So in this case, what we would do is we would like to display the message, right? So there is this task listener right here that is actually the stream for that console output. So when you execute a new build, this is actually a stream, and it contains, so this task listener is the stream that kind of, has you have the ability to kind of like add new lines here. So if I do listener.getLogger.println, I can add, a message to here to kind of say, I'm sleeping for this amount of time. So I'm going to add sleeping for I'm sleeping for, and it tells me the describable. Remember so we have to implement that describable method or the describable class, which is going to describe this sleep method or this Hacksgiving sleep builder for us. So what we would have to do is we have to create a static final I usually use descriptor impl, which is going to extend so class descriptor impl, which extends the descriptor. And within that descriptor, it's a type of builder. So oops, did I do something? Okay, so I'm not sure why I didn't allow that before. So it's asking me basically for this descriptor, there are certain methods I need to implement, and the methods I need to implement is at least so at the bare minimum I need the display name. So what it should basically have when so if I come over to the test job, the display name is what will appear right here on this list here. So at least this it would need. So in this case, I'm going to do Hacksgiving Sleep Builder. So that's the name I'm going to call it. And in doing so, I need to tell Jenkins to use this, to add this descriptor to the list of builders. So if I use extension, the extension annotation, it's going to find the list of builders and add it to that list for me. So let me, let's see. So, okay. So I guess the other thing I forgot to mention was because we're also creating a new version of this, so the problem is that, by default, we don't have a time, right? And one thing we would like to do is kind of get the user to kind of enter the time, right? We would like to, it would be nice, we don't have anything in the constructor. We would like, we set up the default time and all that, but, it would be better if, the person can actually execute, the time that they want. So in the jelly files again, if you implement the config.jelly, what will happen is on the main, so on the configuration page, so when you create the config.jelly, it's going to basically allow you to add the things like in here, so like the command section from within Jenkins, so you can kind of, tell it what fields and items, or what fields and methods you would like to, what fields you would like to instantiate. So in this example, what we're going to do is we're just going to do something like a text box that just basically displays the time. So so the first thing we need is kind of like an entry. We need to create a new entry, and the entry has a title, and we're going to call this the time title, and it has a field, which in this case it's actually the time field. So it's going to associate this entry So the entry would be something like, so if I look at this command again, this part right here, the part that I'm able to enter, is the entry field, and it basically adds it to that variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text box for this time field. And in doing so, because I created this jelly file, and I would like Jenkins to kind of add this field, this time, to the class over here. The one thing is that I would like it to kind of bind the time variable to the time over here automatically. So if I do data-bound constructor, what it would do is it will add so it will kind of figure out, this is a field time and it's associated with, this time right here. So it makes it very easy to kind of associate that. So, right, so if we run this right now, which I'm going to do right now, very quickly, what this is going to do is it's going to add a build step here called sleep, and it's going to specify a time. And then I can specify, whatever time I would like. Okay, so Jenkins is fully up and running. So if I reload this page, if I click Add Build Step, you can see right here it says Hacksgiving Sleep Builder. And I can sleep for, I'll sleep for 12,345 milliseconds. So when I click the Build Now button, it's going to say I'm sleeping for this amount of time, and it's going to sleep. So this is fairly nice, right? Like, I get the UI. I can actually perform a sleep operation. But there's a small problem with this, in that I can enter any time I would like. So I can enter -15 for the time, and it still will allow me to, it doesn't display any warnings or error messages or anything. So that's a small problem. So we would like to kind of do some validation on that, right? We would like to make sure that, if you are setting it to -15, you're kind of told not to. So I had mentioned earlier that there's these do check methods that allow you to add your own version of it. So I can add a do check for this specific time field and have it tell me, or error, if I'm doing something wrong. So if I do public, so this is actually a form validation. So Jenkins has this form validation so that when you click right here, if you enter something in wrong, the validation will fail for this specific form or form. So if I do check time, and what I wanted to do is that I wanted to query the parameter the time. So I can say something like, if time is less than 0, then I want it to return the form validation dot error, and I wanted to say, please enter a positive number. Otherwise, I wanted to return form validation dot OK. So basically, this is saying, if the time is less than 0, kind of warn me. Otherwise, it's okay. So if I recompile this and rerun it, so this HPI run basically is creating a new Jenkins instance. So here, let me kind of expand this a little bit. So you can see here, it's like creating the plugins. It's kind of loading it all up, which is very nice, and it's very convenient for plugin development. So you can see. Okay, so going back here. So if I refresh this page, if I come over here and I say -15, it says please enter a positive number. So it's kind of giving me a warning saying, hey, you entered a wrong number in, please enter something else. Now there's also a problem in that I could also enter letters and it still passes. So we need to kind of fix this up a little bit to kind of handle this situation to make sure that it's valid, right? So the number should, or the letter should not be valid. So we would have to come back here, and the thing is that instead of us accepting a long, if we accept a string, we can basically say, if we wrap this thing up in a try-catch block, or actually, it would be right here, catch with the number format exception, we could do something like long.value of the time. And then we would say, if it fails, because they didn't enter a valid number, we can return form validation error and say, please enter a number. So when I recompile this, if I enter something like a letter, it's going to error and say, please enter a number. So if I refresh this page, this is kind of adding the extra validation. It says here, please enter a number. It allows you to kind of do this. So it's fairly easy. I mean, all I did was just re-implement this check time method, and basically it did a check on this field right here to make sure that it was it correctly fits this criteria. So the other thing I could do is, let's say, for an example, if I want to only make this available to freestyle projects. So I do not want this made available to something like a Maven project type. So if I build a Maven project, I click OK, it should be available within here. You can see Hacksgiving Sleep Builder. However, I don't want that, because this doesn't work well with a different project type. So there is the isApplicable method. So public, actually, it should be that's why. It's because it should not be descriptor. Sorry, I miswrote this. It should be build step descriptor. So the build step has special types. So it kind of, it has more methods that are specific for build steps. So, so it says it's applicable. So the thing is that there are different types of descriptors. So the first one that I implemented was the very basic descriptor. However, since I would like more flexibility with this build step. I would like to say, is it applicable to this specific, job? The thing is that, I wanted to say, I wanted to kind of error or not display it if it's not available. And the build step descriptor is like a generic version for the builder type. So if you return true, it always is applicable. However, the thing is that, like I had mentioned previously, I don't want this to be available to I only want it to be available, sorry, to the freestyle project. So if I say job type equals the freestyle project and return true, else return false. So, this can probably be shrunk to return yes. So, only I only want it to be applied to freestyle projects. So if I rerun this, it's not going to display in here anymore. So if I refresh this page, I come down here, I don't see it anymore. So it doesn't apply to this specific type, so it ignores it. However, if I go to this test job, I can still see it in there. So I can kind of tell it, I can kind of guide it into saying, where it should be applied to and where it shouldn't be applied to. And that should be, right, so that should be, how much time do I have? Okay, so right, so you can kind of tell it, where you want it to go. And, okay, so the next part, which is kind of what I've been getting some requests from in the mailing list is to, or sorry, the list is kind of how to localize certain things. So like this Hacksgiving sleep builder, we would like to kind of be able to localize this. So adding different languages is fairly easy for something like this. So the thing is that in Java there is this thing, there's this messages.properties file. So if I add it to the so if I add it to my resources folder, I can basically tell it kind of what so if I create this messages.properties, I can actually tell it I want it to be this specific text and I want to use that text. So so let me copy this, and if I say something like display name equals this, there's a special type of compile. So by default it will compile this. However, because we're doing localized, if we double click or if we actually do localize :generate, what it will do is it will create in the generated folder or generated sources this messages class here, and basically what this does is it has the content of the display name. So it basically goes out and it gets this messages.properties display name and it makes it available from the UI. So I can now take this and I will replace it with messages.displayName. So, oops, so let me kind of minimize certain things here. So what this will do is this, I'm basically taking all of the strings that are visible from the UI. So like an example is like this Hacksgiving sleep builder, and I can basically I can put it right here and tell it, to use this specific display name. So if, for an example, we need to add it for a different language, all they're doing is just converting this one, this one section here, or this one file, sorry, instead of actually modifying the code in every location for certain things. So if I rerun this, it should properly display it using the localized message, or the message.display name. So as you can see here, it's the Hacksgiving Sleep Builder. It's still available. I believe if you add messages dot or messages dash and then another language, it automatically does. It handles the the correct language that it should be using. This is kind of how the way you would localize all these string values to make them available. So, right. And kind of the final thing that I wanted to go over that was requested a lot was kind of writing a unit test for this. So there are special things, like there's the acceptance test harness, which allows you to have the click interaction. So like it's more of like a Selenium testing framework. However, for this example, I'm just going to write kind of like a simple unit test to verify that, unfortunately, I can't verify that the thread.sleep occurred. However, I can verify that this text got properly inputted. So, so that's what I'm going to kind of test with this. So, in this Hello World Builder, if I right-click on the perform, if I go to the test, so it doesn't exist a test currently. So I would like to write a new test. Does it not have my? Okay. So what I would like to do is have this be a test. So Jenkins actually uses. So I'm going to write this with JUnit 4. So there's the rules that allow you to. So Jenkins has this Jenkins rule. I guess I have to add the Maven dependency. To my list here. So this should be available. So I added it to there. So it's public Jenkins rule. The rule goes new Jenkins rule. And what this will do is this will actually spin up a new Jenkins instance for this test specifically. So it'll go create a new Jenkins instance for me. So test public void verified sleep performed or check sleep output. I don't know, just something very simple which throws exception. So from within here, if I say so if I call the Jenkins, so if I say r.create freestyle project. I can specify the name. In this case, I'm not. Oh, sorry. I forgot I have to zoom in. So if I do this, Jenkins rule allows me to kind of add this. So if I do, so I just basically add, I just basically created a freestyle project. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add this builder to the list of builders for this job. So if I say p dot get builders list dot add, I can say I want to. Well, first let me actually create Hacksgiving sleep builder equals new Hacksgiving sleep builder with a time of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I set the time specifically as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm basically telling Jenkins or I'm creating a new object, a new builder with that specific time. I create the freestyle project. I add it to the list on the project page. And if I say p dot schedule a build for 0 seconds, so start immediately, this will actually return a future. So the thing is that, in order for us to actually get the object itself, we'd have to call .get to actually return to us, the completed build. So sorry. So the thing is that, right, so so I want to get the build from this. So I scheduled a build, and I would like to block until it finishes. So once this finishes, so I guess then I would like to verify that. So assert equals actually true. I would like to assert that the text with this milliseconds. So if I say build dot get log dot contains the sleep for time. So if I say I want to verify that it actually executed the time. Am I using the deprecated one? So yeah, so that's fine. So I'd say I want it to sleep for this amount of time, and I want to verify that the logs actually contain this. If I run this this unit test here. Uh-oh. Let me actually remove some of these and then regenerate some of those methods. And then click run now. Uh-oh. Actually, I think I have to run the compile first, so give it a moment. Right, so I finished compiling. That's interesting. Okay. So it's a duplicate. Hmm. Okay. So let's try to rerun that. I'm not sure why that other one is not appearing. Um, so, oh, I think I know why. It's because it's a, okay, I think I know why. Sorry about this. You actually have to create a specific test target because I kind of realized that I put it in the main part. So, new directory, the test directory, and the Java. So within here, mark directory. Oh, it's already a test directory. So, so I put that here. So I would like it to go to org, Jenkins CI, plugins, Hacksgiving. Okay. I guess the file already exists. Give me a moment here. Okay, I'm just going to move this manually to speed this kind of up. Picture. Okay, so it actually added it in there correctly. So let me make sure that it looks good. Okay, so there. So I guess it was partially my fault because I put it in the wrong directory. So as you can see here, after executing the sleep builder test, it's starting up a new Jenkins instance, and it's executing this. I specified the time. You can see it's taking a while. And then it completes and it succeeds. So you can also do something like system.out.println. Sorry, the text is a little big. So let's say, for example, if I would like to output this because I'm currently trying to get some more information, right? Like I want to see, what this is currently outputting. I can easily do that. So I can get some information about that. So when you see this, actually see it executing that and displaying the output for us. So this is a very a basic unit test to kind of it does some type of interaction. It performs a sleep operation. However, I mentioned previously there's things like the acceptance test harness that do a lot nicer like UI interactions. So they do like clicking, like the verification of the clicking. So you can see here that it says sleeping for this time. It started, it succeeded. Here's the output for it and everything. So Um, that was what I kind of wanted to demonstrate, really. And so this also leads to kind of like another question, like how can I, can I improve like the pre-existing plugins? And an example is that, I like to point to the Ant plugin specifically, because this is one that's currently being up for adoption. So if I go into this exact method, you can actually see that this kind of like applies to like the real world, where you can see that this Ant is like a on construct options, but that's that's to be kind of like expected. There's a perform method here, so it's performing some action. It's performing, right? So it's performing its action. It has the build step descriptor. Does its own validation. So this one actually will not. It does not look like it actually does the do checks. However, you can kind of see that they have the. Does it apply to any job? It does usually. So there is that also. So it kind of applies to like real world as well. And so that's this presentation. If you have questions, you can ask in the IRC channel, #Jenkins. You can mention me. I'm schristou. Oh, that should actually be schristou, not schristou88. Or someone else from the Hacksgiving page. And the Q&A question for this is actually not tomorrow, but it's right after this session, which I kind of went over a little bit. So that's my presentation.
The Q&A session is not actually right now. It's going to be in about an hour and a half. We have it scheduled for 1 p.m. Pacific time, so 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, that was my fault.
Sure we can all get some lunch and things like that.
Okay. So I guess it's in an hour then, but okay.